For this Sunday reflection, I'll be talking a little bit about the layout and where I plan to have my store for my PC build store. So I don't have a picture or a map directly of where my store is going to be, but I can tell you a little bit about the location. There's two different locations I was thinking about. There's one in a little shopping mall that is right off the freeway. That was a good one just because it's right off the freeway. It would, garner a lot of attention from people driving by and getting off the freeway or people on the freeway. But I don't like that one as much because it's a little bit dated and a little bit older, and a lot of the businesses that have been there have not lasted very long, besides like the Papa John's and the T-Mobile store and the Wingstop that have been there have not lasted very long. So I think I was against that one because of that and it being a little more dated. There's a one that's closer to a high school that's a little more modern and a little like newer. And I feel like the location for my PC store that would fit better because it is near a high school. It is near residential area too, which could help garner, some of the kids and the other people around that area that would be interested in getting a PC build. And like I said, I like that location for the fact that it's near high school. That would help bring in people for work. That would help bring in, potential customers. So that's why I like that one. And it's newer, so it's a little more updated, and it would probably fit our needs as for like technology and stuff. And I feel like the safety too of it, it's a little bit safer area than maybe the other spot right off the highway, considering I will have a bunch of expensive things in my store. So that's why I chose that one. And that one's not right on the highway, but like I said, it is in close proximity to high school and other schools in the area and residential neighborhoods. So I feel like that would be better suited for what I'm going for. It's also on the downside, it's not as big as the other store, but I think starting out small would probably be better. And then eventually, somewhere else in town, as the city continues to grow, maybe on the other side of the highway where they're doing new construction on certain things, I think that would be beneficial for my little store. So that's what I'm thinking in that for the location of my store. Also, I have the map. I'm back with my printouts again because I can't figure out to share. So not to cover my face. Right here we have the peripheral wall. So that is going to house a lot of the just accessories for computers. So like headsets, keyboards are huge. Everybody's into a good, sounding keyboard. You have your mice, your cables, etc. Anything that is an accessory to a computer or that you may need for a computer, including the wires and stuff, would go on that back peripheral wall, in a big wall displaying all that, or, racks so that everybody can see. Of course, I would have, sample models of some of the things so that everybody can see how they work, how they sound, just kind of like Best Buy. It has the headphones that you can sound at, or that you could hear practice, you can see what they sound like. I would have those. Of course, maybe a couple of the popular keyboards I would have out as displays so people can try those. On the other side, right here would be the demo bar. So there we would have computers or PCs, some built like in the 3 tiers. So the highest of the highest, the fastest, the coolest looking computers, we'd have one of those. Then your medium tier, that gets the job done for, somebody that's looking for something a little more pricier than the simple build, that would be there. And we'd also have the lower end build and maybe some of the other things that were on the peripheral wall, like your headsets, your keyboards, and other things may also be displayed on the demo bar right here. Right here, we would have the restrooms. Over this way would be, I'm still thinking about where I should put the checkout, but I was thinking maybe closer down here in between the service and repair lab and the build bay. So I was thinking somewhere's right here. Right here in the middle, to me, I don't think would be the best. So I was thinking maybe right at the entrance, somewhere's right in here would probably be my checkout, point of sale right here. And then right here we have parts storage, so anything we would need in parts kind of towards the back, but close to the build bays and the service bar so that they're easily accessible by the techs that are working at these two parts. You want to save time, you want to be efficient, when gathering things. You don't want to have to walk to the very back of the store back here to get something, that may take 10 or 15 minutes to get done and get out and everything, when it should be up front near everything when you're trying to build something. And then I also have my office space back here for all the admin work, anything else, paperwork we may have to do, and then receiving and shipping. So this would be at the back end of the store. So if UPS or USPS has to come pick up things. It's in the back of the store, conveniently located. What else we got? We got the showroom retail floor. So anything else that may, be needed for PCs or anything for gaming or something would be on this show floor right here in the middle. So, as people are browsing, maybe the peripheral wall, of course, there's a showroom retail floor of all the probably big parts that, people can kind of pick from. That's what I'm thinking. Like some of the, the towers, the hard drives, the cooling systems, and the cool little gadgets, lights and stuff like that would probably be right here because they're a little bit bigger and you can't display them on a wall, so they'd be right here. And of course, I think it's good because you pick right here with your little basket, you just walk right here and they help you build it right up front. And then maybe if you want to try something out, it's also right here. Maybe some of the products will be right here that you can try. So that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as my store goes. The layout of it, it's pretty simple. I want to keep everything, like I said, efficiently and effective. I don't want to have my parts way in the back when I'm going to be building things up front. It makes more sense to keep them towards the middle front, so that you can be efficient and effective. People aren't waiting forever and so on. And I think right here in the build base, I would probably have a couple of, tables or desks that are like standing, so that people can be standing, watching. Maybe, like I said, the technicians, maybe you just need help. Like you're building it yourself. Maybe you just need, some help with one of the parts to help. That's what the technicians are for. So independent little bays. It reminds me of like building Legos, where you're going to get all your materials, laid out on a table, look at the instructions. Maybe a technician comes by to see if you need help or whatnot, and then you go from there. And then you'll have your, like I said, your service labs, kind of like the front of Best Buy. I'm not sure if it's still the same way. It used to be back in the day where they had their Geek Squad up front and they would help you there with, fixing your stuff. Same thing here. You probably have like a little counter. I'm not sure how long, maybe about 10 feet or so. Would probably be able to house like 2 or 3 people to fix, repair or service any of your devices that you may need help with. And like I said, build bays right here with desks and tables. You have your checkout and then your demo bar. So I think, and during the daytime in the store, people would be walking around helping, asking whatever you may need and whatnot. But that's kind of the layout of the store and how I came about the location for my PC build store. Like I said in my last video too, everything's still kind of changing. I'm still thinking, still like coming up with ideas about what goes where I should go, the logos and all that. And I think when it comes to business, there is more than just, a name and a face to the business. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, which I'm currently learning as I'm taking this class. In my mind, I pictured in the beginning, it was just like the name and the person running the business, but there's so much more. And I think that's what's interesting, is that, each week we get to describe a different part of the business, which I really enjoy. So thanks for having me.